Hi, welcome back. My name is Yuna, and this is my channel where I talk about books. Before I start today's video, I just want to take a second to say that I hope that you guys are all taking care of yourselves and taking care of each other and your communities. The way that human beings are being treated right now in America, while not being necessarily surprising or something new given America's history, is just absolutely disgusting and infuriating and horrifying and heartbreaking. This is a book channel run by a human being who is deeply affected and always thinking about what is going on. Woo! While what is happening is not without historical precedent, and it isn't necessarily a surprise for anyone who's been paying attention to the state of the world or to the way that this country or many countries have been run historically, it is still absolutely horrifying and maddening. Yeah, I don't have any particularly coherent thoughts to share at the moment, but I do want to make a video compiling a list of books that I recommend for reading for the moment, whether that is to educate yourself or to prepare yourself. I do have some books that I have in mind, but I wanted to do a bit more research and be a bit more methodical and thoughtful about putting that list together, but hopefully I can have that together in the next few weeks. In the meantime, I'm just sending my love, and I just want to reiterate that this channel is run by a person who thinks books are political, who knows books are political, who thinks that you should be evaluating situations critically, that no person is illegal, especially on colonized land. And now for the meat of today's video. Today I want to talk about some of my favorite short books, my favorite novellas. I said in my introduction video, the first video that I posted to this channel, that one of the reasons I ended up reading over 200 books last year is because I do very much enjoy reading novellas and short stories. I know that some people feel like novellas are hard to get into because they're so short, so you don't feel like you develop an attachment or an investment. But I think that if you find the right novella, that's not true. And I also think that if you know that you have a short amount of time, like a flight or a long commute, or I don't know, a few hours in the day we're going to be doing chores, that's a really great time to just put on a novella on audiobook and just kind of blast through that, and you will have finished an entire book in a day. I have a very long list of novellas that I could recommend, so I'm going to break this up into maybe 2 or 3 parts, or maybe it'll just be a running series where I continue to recommend novellas that I'm enjoying as the year goes on. But today I have 8 books to share. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 books to share. Wait, where's the 8th book? Oh my god. Okay. Now I have 8 books to share. I'm going to start off with one of my favorite novellas. Obviously, all of these are my favorite novellas, and that is The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. First of all, isn't the cover absolutely stunning? I think I actually picked this book up not even knowing what it was about because I just like the cover so much. This comes in at 120 pages and is actually a retelling of a Japanese story called The Crane Wife. This is a literary fiction, magical realism story that follows a young teenage girl, I think she's about 15 years old, who is living with her younger brother and her mother. Her mother is an artist, and while she does love her children, she's a bit absent, and the teenage daughter is essentially raising and taking care of her little brother and keeping the household together. One day, her mother comes home and brings a 6-foot-tall crane with her. Right from the beginning, the protagonist and her little brother can tell that there's something strange about this crane, but their mother is absolutely enthralled with this crane. That might sound like a slightly silly premise, but it actually does get quite dark, and I would suggest checking out trigger warnings if you're worried about any content related to family life or domestic life. I thought that Kelly did an incredible job building tension in the plot, in the story, in the relationships, in the characters' inner turmoil in such a short book. I would highly recommend you pick this up if you're interested in something a little dark, a little creepy, and very impactful. Next is a book that I've already talked about on this channel once, so I'm going to try to move through it kind of quickly, and that is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone. This is a very trippy, very fun, sort of sci-fi, fantasy, literary fiction romance story. The story follows Blue and Red, who are 2 rival agents working on opposite sides of a time war. It's a war that is spanning across different points in time and space, and these 2 agents essentially start to leave each other letters at different points in these time threads, and over time begin to fall in love. It's a sapphic love story. It's very strange. It's one of those books where You're not being told everything about the world and you have to sort of fill in gaps for yourself. It is very purple prosy, so if you hate that, you might not like it. I don't actually like purple prose that much, but I just thought it was such a good time, and I thought the love, the yearning, the desire, and the tenderness was so beautifully written in this book. This one is slightly longer and comes in at 198 pages, but I think it's actually quite a quick read. It's very easy to get through, and I would highly recommend if you're looking for a trippy love story. Now I have what I believe is the shortest book on this list. It only comes in at 103 pages, and that is Minor Detail by Adania Shibli. While it is short, this book is like a bullet. It is a lot of punch in a tiny package. This book is written by a Palestinian author and it's broken into two parts. The first part of this book takes place in 1949 and details a true story when a group of Israeli soldiers raped, killed, and buried a young Bedouin girl. The second part of the book takes place decades later. I'm not sure exactly when, but I think it is near present day, when a woman who is living in Ramallah is investigating the events that are detailed in the first part of the book. She's investigating the rape and murder of that girl. She's almost obsessed with that story and with finding out what happened, and she decides to travel to the actual site, the physical site where the events occurred. Now again, this book is short, but it is powerful. The writing is very spare and incisive and sharp, and it's one of those books where you should really be paying attention while you are reading it. It is haunting and difficult to read, but I think extremely important. It asks you to think about the ways that history continues and doesn't just end, the way that events are cyclical and come back, and I think that's very relevant for today. So once again, like all the books on this list, highly recommend. I loved this book and was deeply moved by it. Next is a book that had my whole heart when I read it. It took me by surprise. I was expecting to love it, but I didn't realize I would love it as much as I do. That is The River Has Roots by Amal El-Motar, who, if you remember, is one of the authors of This Is How You Lose the Time War. This book is about 130 pages long, and honestly, I could have read 400, 500 pages of this story. The story is this lyrical, poetic, fable-like murder ballad slash love story slash fairy tale. It follows two sisters, Esther and Isabel, who are deeply bonded, and they're part of a family who take care of this magic willow tree that's by this magic river. And the magic itself is so interesting because it's based in grammar. I thought it was so cool, and the way that it's described, I didn't know grammar could be this beautiful. I would highly recommend that if you're interested in reading this book, that you do it both physically and through the audiobook. Music is a big part of this story, and for the audiobook, Amal and her sister actually recorded instrumentals that play throughout the story, and it's so enchanting. The audiobook narrator also does sing parts of the book, and the whole experience was just so incredibly beautiful. So I would highly recommend the audiobook, but the physical book also is so special because, let me show you. It has these adorable illustrations. This is the cover, but if you look on the inside, throughout the inside of the book, there are just these lovely illustrations all throughout, and I just think it really added to the experience of reading the book. So I would highly, 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 highly recommend that you do both the audiobook and get the physical book for the full experience. I have to read you an excerpt so you get the idea of this fairy tale enchanting lyrical quality that I'm raving about. Their voices threaded through each other like the warp and weft of fine cloth, and when the sisters harmonized, the air shimmered with it. Folk said that when they sang together, you could feel grammar in the air. If they sang a stormy sky, the day clouded over. If they sang adventure, blood rose to the boil. If they sang a sweet sadness, everything looked a little silver from the corners of the eyes. If you're looking to be swept away, if you're looking for something that feels like a fairy tale or a fable, and if you want an immersive experience that has magic and music, I think this would be perfect for you. Next is a book that's just a little bit longer. Coming in at 230-ish pages is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is such a eerie and haunting and heartbreaking little novel. It's another story with a sapphic relationship at the center, and here we follow Miri and Leia. Leia is a marine biologist, I believe, who went on a catastrophic deep sea research mission, which left her and her crew stranded at the seafloor for an extended period of time. Much to Miri's relief, Leia returns from this mission, but she realizes that something is strange and her wife has returned to her changed. It's told from both points of view. We follow Miri's perspective as she's trying to take care of and reach out to her wife, who is strange and again changing and distant, and there's just something that's happening to her. She's transforming in a way that that neither of them quite understand. We also have Leia's perspective, which is told in flashbacks as she is on the deep sea mission, and you see the experience she went through and sort of what she ended up encountering while she was at the seafloor. It's quietly haunting. It's very strange. It's another one that doesn't really explain to you what's going on, but I thought it was such a beautiful story that explores themes of grief, anticipatory grief. What does it mean to grieve someone or lose someone while they are still right before you? Identity, loss, love. Reading this book, and especially Miri's experience, made me think about the pain and again the anticipatory grief that people go through when loved ones have conditions such as dementia or Alzheimer's, conditions that mean that you're watching the person you love change before you, become different before you, and you're sort of helpless to do anything about it. I don't know that the writing style will be for everyone, but it hit for me. Next, I have another eerie, strange, haunting, disturbing book, and that is I Who Have Never Known Ben by Jacqueline Hartman. This comes in at 188 pages, and I believe is a translated fiction with the original in French. I Who Have Never Known Ben is this dystopian, post-apocalyptic story that starts with 39 women and one young girl who are being kept prisoner in a cage deep underground. They have no memory of how they got there, who's keeping them there, or why they're there. They do end up escaping their prison, and the story follows them as they attempt to survive and make community and find a reason and a purpose for living in this very bleak, strange, post-apocalyptic world. It is a book that I think might leave you with more questions than answers, but it very powerfully explores themes like community, female friendships, purpose, what is a meaningful life, what is a life worth living. And I just thought that it was really powerful, and the ending got me good. I actually think these two books are kind of similar in that, well, first of all, I love the covers together. I specifically got these versions of the books because I like the way that they looked sitting next to each other. I think that these are the types of books where if they're for you, they'll really be for you. So if you're looking for sort of sparse, disturbing, haunted, not overly explained novels exploring relationships and especially focusing on women, I think you should do yourself a favor and pick these two up. Second to last, we have another translated fiction, this time from Korean. I saw this book just on someone's Pango page, and I'd never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it, but the cover was adorable. I thought the title was really intriguing, and I saw that it was a translated Korean fiction, so I just went ahead and picked it up. And I absolutely fell in love with this book. That is The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly by Sun Mi Hwang. Look how cute the little chicken is. The main character of this heartwarming little story is this brave chicken named Sprout. Sprout dreams of freedom and motherhood, and one day she decides she's had enough of being a prisoner and having her eggs being taken away from her by these humans. So she decides she's going to escape. She's going to live out there in the wild. She's going to lay an egg, and she's going to raise a baby. I don't think it's a book that needs to be explained much more than that, but I will just say I thought it was such a lovely little fable, and it explores themes of sacrifice, of motherhood, of freedom, of the struggle to be an individual. And it's another book like The River Has Roots that has adorable little illustrations on the inside. Look at the tiny little chickens. They're so cute. And there's other illustrations throughout the book that are just as adorable. I've seen this story be compared to Charlotte's Web or Animal Farm, and I get where the comparison lies, but it's a completely different story, and I think it stands on its own two legs. Although this book might seem like it's written for children, I don't think that's the case. I think this will hit with adult audiences, and it's actually a bit darker than you might expect. There is more death or violence than one might expect for how I've described this book being about this cute plucky chicken. It packs a punch, and I would recommend for anyone who is looking for a heartwarming story about family that has some animals in it. Final book on this list is one that I read kind of recently. I believe I read it at the end of last year. Coming in at about 180 pages is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. Well, I love Clark's work. I believe I've read most of the things that he's published. I've read The Black God's Drum. I've read all of the books and novellas in the Master of Jin universe, and I've loved all of those. I'll probably talk about them at some point on this channel. Ring Shout takes place in 1915, which is the year of the birth of the nation, when that kind of swept through the country. This takes place in sort of an alternate world in which the Ku Klux Klan are actual supernatural demonic monsters from hell. We follow a group of resistance fighters who are trying to keep the KKK under control and to push them back so that they don't come through and essentially take over Earth. It's a really powerful blend of history and horror because, man, history is the horror. We don't even really need to exaggerate how horrific the KKK were, and even without the supernatural aspect, obviously they were monsters, but Clark just takes it to the next level. I've seen this compared frequently to The Sinners, and while I see where the comparison comes from, it's a very different story. The supernatural elements are completely different, the plot is different, the stakes are different. But if you enjoyed The Sinners, you may enjoy Ring Shout, and even if you didn't watch or enjoy The Sinners, I think that this is an incredible story. Those were the 8 books that I wanted to share with you today for anyone who is looking for recommendations for short little nugget novellas. I have a ton more novellas that I love and would love to talk about, so I will probably make this a running series and continue to share with you shorter books that I am enjoying. If you have any recommendations for novellas that you think I should check out, please leave them in the comments. Any genre, I would be more than happy to check them out. Thank you again for watching. Happy reading, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.